Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities. And it's going to be really an amazing experience. And I look forward to you joining me on the jar. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mental Health Today. I'm your host, Ken Stearns, also the founder of the JAR Foundation, which supports mental health today. And really, this is a platform for people in the space and around the space of mental health and people who are just passionate about it, to share a little bit about their journey or to share what they're doing in the space, the impact they're trying to have, the change that they are. And I had a guest, or I was a guest, I was a guest on Lynn's show, our guest today. And, we had such a good conversation in our meeting, in our chat. And just kind of kindred spirits in a lot of ways. And we also share kind of a unique bond of being expats. And an expat community is a bit of these are Americans living and working overseas, and in a way committed to their careers, but also in the end, you're committed to helping local communities, really local people. And I'm sure Lynn's got the same experience that I had, being involved in a lot of good charity stuff, doing a lot of, even through our work, the work was uplifting to the country, to the communities that we were around. And so it's a great bonding experience. Lynn and I, again, both expats, and having lived that life for a while, it's kind of a unique perspective. And so I think we had a bit of a bonding over that, and a bit of bonding over just being kind of like-minded humans. And so I thought it great to have, especially when I really understood what you were doing, Lynn, and the change and the I spent my whole career having and encouraging uncomfortable conversations with people. Mm-hmm. When you're dead, what's happening around your family, what's going on in your life, what's happening, and that's what insurance people do. And that's what I did and encouraged other people to do, and to bring financial literacy and everything around the globe, and at least in Asia. And Lynn had a very interesting story, and not too dissimilar, but Lynn was a badass boss as well. So she was a baller boss is on top of it all, and a woman boss, running around doing her superwoman thing. So Lynn, welcome to the show. Thanks for being a guest. And
what an intro, Ken. Jeepers.
Yeah, you'll never get one that good or that different. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but you know what? We expats completely relate, because you just have a warped sense of humor. It gets you by, especially
absolutely.
When you're living in a foreign country and in Asia, and thinking, okay, hold on, this is a little different than home. And finding ways to make sure that you maintain a laughter perspective.
Absolutely.
And still be an encourager, and being the proactive cheerleader, and making sure that people are informed and we communicate about any and everything.
And never taking, I think one of the greatest lessons I had early on from a great leader, never take yourself too serious, and never believe the pomp and circumstance surrounding your role, because it's not about you.
No, it's always about them. And I used to always laugh with our team and say, you know what? This isn't about you. This is all about them. Yeah. So heck with this what's in it for me deal. You've got to be what's in it for them. And that's who we're here to serve. And if we can align around that, then we're going to have success.
And we're going to have fun, because we have purpose.
Yeah,
we'll have purpose. Well, tell us a little bit, Lynn, what are you doing now? Now that you're not that person, but you've got maybe passion now, and found a different passion.
I think I've always had passion.
Yeah, you've always had passion.
That's the thing. But you know what? I think what I'm doing now, as the founder of the Living Planner, it's an evolution of my life, both personally and professionally. And I had 30 plus amazing years in global leadership positions in aviation. but I was also a volunteer emergency team responder. So I worked airplane crash sites. And then I was the go-to kid with parents, on the decline, with my dad being diagnosed with Alzheimer's and my mom having massive heart issues. Each time a parent was going down, I was on an international assignment, once in Asia, once in
Good
Canada.
God.
So, it's something when you're 8,000 miles away or 4,000 miles away or whatever, to be finagling and managing things for them while maintaining your own well being.
Yes.
Here we are during Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think I don't play specifically in the mental health
Mm-hmm.
yet.
Understand.
I do play in the well-being
Mm.
space because I am a firm believer in making sure that we're looking after one another, whether it's your work group, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends,
Mm.
whatever it is. There's this a community that you're a part of, and I believe that we all want to be seen and heard and valued. And the thing I've learned from being away, but also at home, is that people have invisible illnesses, invisible issues, and we never really know what's going on in someone's life. And so I think that it's up to us to remember the humanness of ourselves and others and
Mm.
treat people accordingly.
It's really true that we just don't know what people are going through. And like we were talking, we chatted just a bit, before getting online about the invisibleness
Yes.
of mental health, and the fact that it's not a cancer, it's not a toothache,
Mm.
it's not really tangible, but it is so very real, and so crippling, for people. And I've heard so many really tough stories, and hard to look at the person I'm talking to and realize that that person was going through what they're telling me.
And many of us, whether diagnosed or not, are proficient hiders of whatever's going on. And so I
Yes,
think
really
that
good.
that's the human side of recognizing that the strong ones may be very, very proficient at putting on a great show.
Yeah.
And I think that that is something that people learn how to cover
Hmm.
rather than feeling comfortable and asking for help.
Yes.
Somewhat out of vulnerability, but it's also somewhat out of not wanting to be judged, and not wanting to be marked in some way.
The stigma is real
Yeah,
still,
it,
and
it is.
um, and I think people too, you hide it because there's an expectation: be tough, brush it off. There's a
Or
lot of
you're supposed to be able to deal with it,
yeah,
or
just do
keep
just
your personal life personal and your business life, don't bring it to work. Um, and, the
Can
last time I checked, business and life intersect.
I
And I think that that's the piece where, as times have been really interesting for the last 3 years of
this
recognizing our
yeah.
mortality, and my dad was born during the Spanish flu, and I remember how he was thrilled. I am the oops child in my family. He and my mom were so happy that I could have the ability to go into kindergarten with a polio vaccine rather than my older siblings, who they were fearful that they would actually contract polio. And
Wow.
so I have grown up in a place of
Wow.
saying, okay, huh, what happens during a lockdown is that people either have a lot of time by themselves or a lot of time within a small space confined to doing many things, from parenting to teaching to like trying to
Yeah.
work and do whatever, and saying, oh, holy mother of God, get me out of here, I'm going crazy. So I just think that it would be really nice if we could come through this with a bit of empathy and understanding that God, we're just human, and we've all
Yeah.
got blood in our veins, and hopefully not ice. And
Yeah.
let's just make sure we look out for one another.
And we're all just walking each other home in this on this big blue spinning ball racing, burning and racing through the galaxies, the universe. I don't know, where are we relative to somebody else?
Mm.
We have
Mm.
our own place we call, but someone else looking at us got a different view.
Yep. Yeah.
Tell us, what's it like? I mean, the mental health challenge. How did you personally handle that? That's pretty tough, getting those phone calls. You got a big job, you've got a lot, enormous responsibility, and you get a call that, your dad needs you.
Well, the interesting part about that one is that I went home for my mom's second triple bypass surgery, and I'm the one that noticed that my dad was a little off.
Mm.
And so after she had sailed through the
Oh,
surgery, I looked at him and I said, "Okay, tell me when you noticed you were off." Because he was a World War II dad, of that generation. And, the actual discussion of that was not commonplace in the
yes.
generational mode,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also for my lovely stoic German father. And he just kind of looked at me and said, "You cannot tell your mother." And that's when that's when I knew he knew something was off.
He
And I said, "Okay, that I get that, Dad, but you have to also understand that it's now time for information to be power, as you've always taught me. And I think that we should go and speak with Dr.
mm,
Davies when Mom, gets home, and let's get to the bottom of it." And so it was interesting because I flew he made the appointment with me, there nagging. And I went back to Asia, and I got the call 3 weeks later that it was the beginning of Alzheimer's. And I had promised him before I went back that I said, if this is what we think it is, because of course it was all going to be unsaid. I said, I won't let you go through this part alone. I'll get back to the States. I'll make my way back. So I talked to my boss, who was an amazing, crusty old Scotsman a crusty old Scotsman who tethered me back. And I actually
dang.
worked remotely for him in Hong Kong from Chicago until I found my replacement in my job for my job in Asia, but also until I landed a job within the corporate headquarters, a location. And I'd never lived in Chicago, for God's sake. And so, I grew up on the Iowa border of Illinois. So I'm like commuting every weekend back and forth to 177 miles each way,
Jesus.
back to my hometown, just so I could teach my mom all the things from a administrative side, day in, day out, kind of what I'm doing with the living planner now. Teaching everybody,
Interesting, right?
kind
Yeah.
of, hey, what's this stuff? What are all the bills? What are the necessary documents you need to have? What is this? What is that? So I was kind of reviewing that with my mom every weekend and checking in with my dad. But then I got the call. And so I worked 9/11 as a volunteer. I had worked 2 crash sites in my 20s, but I was also on the support team, the emergency response team for United. So I worked 9/11 amidst all of that.
Good God.
So that was my moment that I realized, I was over my head in some ways from an
I love that.
emotional bandwidth
Right, right.
perspective.
Fair enough.
But B, I also knew that wasn't the time for me to crack.
Mm,
And yet, how do you really know when it is? And so, it's like a really weird thing. So yeah, my cortisol level shot up, my adrenals were like getting fried. Yes, I went for like a massage once every 4 months, or I had a Reiki session and thought that was the best thing since sliced bread. But I was not very good. It was more the do as I say, don't do as I do perspective until after my dad died.
mm,
And then that's when I finally just made more of a committed effort and said, all right, hold on. This is now, you have to care for you. And what are the things that you need to do
yes.
to actually set boundaries and clear the mental space and make sure the emotions have run their course and not stuff things in. So honestly, we're our own best kept secrets, and we're our
Mm,
own sometimes worst enemies. And it's up to us to actually call King's X and use the aviation term, baby. Put that oxygen mask on you before you're assisting others. Because
So
if not,
many.
you are putting yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, it's such a good analogy. I mean, that's one of the best analogies of life, and so weird that it works. It's so counterintuitive.
I know. But it's also so true. I mean, because if you can't breathe, you can't help.
You can't think. Eventually, you can't think at all. I mean, it's just so logical. But it's like, no, I have to help people. I have to help my kid and my spouse. And like, yeah, actually, when you can't breathe, you can't do that. So,
and it's if for those of us who serve, saying me first doesn't always feel right.
It doesn't feel right. Right? Yeah, it doesn't feel right. That's
so
what I mean.
Giving yourself permission to say no, this is part of my sustenance. It can take some practice and learning how to ask for help. I mean, a lot of people refrain from doing that too, from various reasons.
Yeah.
But you know what? As givers, what I finally taught myself was I am denying people the enjoyment I feel when I give by not allowing them to give back.
Okay. Oh, that's a clever way to get around it. I like it.
I had to reframe, baby. I had to reframe.
That's a reframer. That's a reframer. Actually, I've used that though before in other kind of ways, in other scenarios. That's a very good hack, right? Which is, it's true. It mostly is true. You think you're helping somebody, but in the end, you're actually not.
Well, it's almost as if you're not opening up enough to trust others, and that is telling them that they're not important, or they can't be of service to you.
Yeah, not capable.
You're dissing them, and that's not very cool, actually. I mean,
yeah. Tell us a little bit about. I think one of the things, mental health wise, and a lot of mental health is, I think, having your things done. And having your house in order the best you can. There's a lot of stuff you can't control, right? There's many things in life that we just can't control.
No, we can't. And like, we can't control when we're in an accident. We can't control when we're no longer on the planet. We can control if we have a support team to help us. What are the necessary documents that we need to execute to have them be able to help us?
Yes. Yeah.
We can control making sure that we know how we're paying things, how we get into where we live, where our stuff is. I mean, honestly, I mean, it's okay. We can control that.
Yeah.
Yet it can also feel very overwhelming because you're dealing with the other silent issue of, oh God, does this mean I'm going to die?
Yeah.
Does this mean I'm going to be infirm? Does this mean and it's like, no, this means that I get to live more freely. But that's my reframe.
Yes. Well, and I think and I think that's how I'd frame it, which is there's a lot of things in life we can't control.
Yep.
But there are some things some loose ends we can have prepared and in a box and nice.
Get those duckies quacking, baby.
Get them lined up, get them quacking, line them up. And I think what you're doing with the living planner is quite beautiful. Maybe you can explain for people a little bit and in a nutshell, kind of what your passion is and
I
what
guess
you're
the
doing.
easiest way to phrase it is all the stuff you guys don't want to talk about, I want to address. But it's more of a contingency planning. But it's for you at home, and it's also for us at work. Whether you own your own business or you are a worker, and let's just pretend you want to go on vacation. Who backs you up? That's a pretty good question, huh? And how do we allow somebody to back us up by making the things that we're doing accessible? Same thing with our lives at home. I mean, we tend to divide and conquer in families. We play to our strengths. So, honey, I'll do this, I'll do that. You do this, I do that, blah, blah, blah. But where's the trail of breadcrumbs that allows the other to know what you do and how you do it in case they need to step in for you? So at work, I was the geek that had everybody in teams of 3. So we'd always have a backup to the backup. I had many places reporting to me. So I would go to every office and, different cities, states, countries, whatever. And I would write step-in plans so that I would know how to enter the office, where the documents were, things at that level. But, those crashes, working 2 crash sites in my 20s opened my eyes. And it showed me the preciousness of life, but
Yes.
also how wonderful it is when we know that we have a way for somebody to help us. So for me, it's like, how do I help somebody help me?
Yeah, it really is about us. This is the one thing you can actually do. You are doing it for yourself, all peace of mind and everything.
And you're doing it for others because it's
yeah,
emotional.
yeah,
And if there's like a sudden diagnosis or something, like the poo-poo hits the fan in some sort, it's like, holy crap, you're dealing with all the emotion. And if you don't know the administrative side of life, all those
yeah,
practicalities, we're stumped. And so how
right.
do we wake up and kind of recreate some normal when we don't even know where to start? So I kind of want to take that piece away and
Yes,
give the
yeah,
peace of mind and actual true well-being of saying, I know this is my go-to place, or I know this is this, and I know I've been asked to do this, this, and this, and this person's been asked to do this, this, and this, and it just kind of clarifies it all so that we can process emotion as we are called to duty.
There's probably nothing more stressful than talking about all that stuff when you're talking to someone and they're telling you all the details, and they're just also trying to process the fact that they found out they've got stage 4 cancer, for example.
And it,
Like,
I know.
and they're trying to tell you, what's your safety? Now, what's your bank account number? And you're
Well,
like,
but
I'm dying. I don't care.
you can't really think in those moments
You
either.
can't think.
And
Right.
so that's why I am now the proactive cheerleader rather than the reactive responder, because I did the reactive response for over 30 years. So that piece has given me a whole lot of material, if you will, of life that I know can come up and sometimes surprise us. So if we can do that stuff in advance, heck, we're assuming adulting responsibilities once we turn 18. So
Yeah.
there's a whole lot we can do even when we're kids, to just kind of start on the path. But we aren't really, as a society, we don't have a lot of those discussions yet. So I'm aimed to change that.
One uncomfortable conversation at a time.
One empowering conversation.
You say
Because
empowering, I say uncomfortable.
because it's empowering and it
Yes.
builds confidence to know that you know where your stuff is and you know what to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it gives you that purpose of saying, okay, hold on, I've got a go-to plan.
Oh,
I mean, a natural disaster can hit. I mean, I grew up with flooding and tornadoes. I went to college in hurricanes. I started my airline career in earthquakes and fires. I used to
nice.
oversee areas that had volcanoes. I moved to Asia and had typhoons. So I have been through like every natural disaster. And what is it that we need to do in case we need to scoot out real quick and still maintain our normal life? See, so this is about when we're living. That's why this is the living
Living.
planet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I say uncomfortable because there's that uncomfortable moment, but I think definitely on the other side or halfway through it, the process, I'm sure my mood, you would shift, right? You'd shift into, oh, this is great. I didn't think about that. Oh, I got that.
Or it's oh, holy mother of God, I have this much to do. Okay, hold on. What's the best way to like start approaching it? And then you like, how do we
Yeah.
eat an elephant?
Yeah.
One bite at a time. You take a
Yeah.
baby step, you take a nibble, you swallow, take a nibble and you
Yeah.
swallow. And then you just kind of say, okay, what's your time frame? Okay, maybe 12 months, maybe 18 months. I don't care. Let's work it backwards and just take it so life can still continue as you are working on life rather than just in it.
Yeah. And just living in it. Shift gears a little bit.
Yep.
How did you manage your mental health as an executive? What advice would you have for anybody listening to the show that is an executive that's under pressure? I mean, we're on LinkedIn. I mean, I find people on LinkedIn, and that's my clients, and I was that person, and I know a lot of the people that I worked with. I mean, I know they're a mess, not a mess, but I mean, they're
well, it's hard. I mean, there are
and that's
times when
Yeah, I'm struggling with the
We're in
articulation.
many directions. And when I look at the changes that are going on between remote workforce, hybrid workforce, in office, like brick and mortar, there are demands. And I think that the interesting piece is to recognize that, again, what is it that you can accomplish in a day?
Mm-hmm.
Know yourself. Are you a morning person? Are you the night owl? When
Right.
are you most productive? I mean, when are you fully engaged? When
Mm-hmm.
is it? I mean, can you limit your meetings? You know, because honestly, a meeting without an agenda these days is something that I kind of do this too, because
It's not happening.
you want to know what you're expecting, and like get it done. Can it be done more efficiently? Can it be done in a
Mm.
systematic way? What are things that you can streamline? What are things that you can forego? How do you block it out and actually plan your work and work your plan? Now, always leave those spots in there for the interruptions, because I used to always make sure that, people came first. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, I mean, that's what we're there to serve. And a client perspective, internal clients, employees,
Yes.
external clients, clients, and how are we serving them? And there are interruptions
Mm.
because business and life intersect. Life happens to people, and there are the emergencies. So give yourself a little bit of pad in there too, and write down the things that are really important. And if they weren't done, ask yourself the next day how important they really were.
Especially when they're not done.
I mean,
Right.
when I was overseeing daily operations in two different cities in a different country, I mean, the first priority I had was operational excellence,
Yes. Yeah. Right.
and things of that nature. I mean, and you had to make sure that their people were in the loop, and that people knew kind of how to respond and how to act and what to do, et cetera, et cetera. So it depends. If you're a leader of people,
Yes.
actually lead them and trust them and develop them
Mm.
and help them grow and give them space to give it a whirl, but also have quality control and make sure that you know that things are done the way that you really want them to be. But we've got to trust people too, but we have to also trust ourselves. Get rest, take a break, go take a walk, get out of there.
Trust
you
but
know
verify.
Sometimes it is, and
A
sometimes we
real
have to
thing.
slow down to speed up.
Oh. Um, Mental health month. Another pivot. Mental
Mental
health
health
month.
awareness month.
Mental health awareness month. Talk to us about what you're doing. I've got
Oh,
this webinar. So for those of you listening to this, we've got a courses, a www up courses dot the living planner, I think is what you want to get to,
yeah, the
thelivingplanner.com.
livingplanner.com. And I'm doing my first free live webinar. I've had so many people of late within the last 6 months that are having a situation where something's going on with their parents and they're not
Yeah.
sure how they can help them. So I put together a free 30-minute webinar. It's on Monday, May 15th, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. It is live, but it also will have a replay. And
Okay, great.
it's entitled Parenting Parents, Helping You Help Them, because there are some very practical things that you can have in the tank, or at least start approaching, so that you can be that person that can help when needed. And hey, might not even be your parents. I mean, in my case, I mean, you could be older siblings, it could be your grandparents, it could be your auntie, it could be somebody that's just important to you, an older friend. So I think that when we're looking out for others, there's some things that we might need to activate so that we can actually be advocates for one another and helpers for one another.
Yeah, I love that. Parents helping. I'll send this to my daughters.
Yeah, then we get to see, Ken, how you're doing. Yeah, baby. Tell them to
Oh,
call me.
oh yeah. Oh man, the fright that I have just at that thought.
Now, the livingplanner.com, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little blue box where it has courses. And so this is going to be
And it's in
on
the
the
courses.
secondary website under the courses one, because it's under the parents. It's a webinar, parenting parents. So
Yeah. Yeah, I just put up the main website, thelivingplanner.com, and you go there and go to the upper right, hit courses, and you'll find the
You'll see a
parents
whole
up.
bunch of stuff, but I
Yeah.
mean, and you can choose any of the stuff, but this one is there is a free live webinar called Parents and Parents.
Who's going to be on? Do you have any special guests that you want to share?
This is going to be my 30-minute.
It's a 30 minutes. That's right.
It's a 30-minute, just a high-level overview, so that
Yeah.
people that don't know me can kind of be introduced to me, but they can also get some meat for them to get planning and ready on their own. And I have just a few slides, and then I'm going to have Q&A. I'm going to protect everybody's privacy because that's really important to me. So that will be only shared if people want it shared, and it will be just me and my slides on the screen. So people don't know who they are. They get to be anonymous.
Can you make sure can you email me that stuff, the links? Can
Sure.
you remind me? Can you remind me on Monday, and I'll pimp it on my Facebook or whatever, for our fans.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a great thing you're doing. It's a great thing. It's free. It's information. It is, helping parents out, it's a real thing now. We're living to be old. We're living to be.
We boomers, darling, are getting pretty large. So there's a whole bunch of people below us that are going to be like carrying our weight.
And that's why we need immigration. As funny as that is.
It's also why we need people today in our corner that can be our helping team, our safety nets, our people that are here to assist when needed.
I love that. How about some closing?
We were talking in the preview room a little bit about the whole corporate experience and HR. And I want to tell you a shout out to all the HR professionals.
Yeah, that's right.
Because honestly, my heart goes out to you. You have every department head and all the execs dumping any pet project on your lap. And you have all the employees that are just struggling sometimes to understand their benefits, what the company culture is, how to navigate. So my heart is with you all. And I just want you to know we're here in support of you because all employees need well-being.
Yeah.
You included.
Yes, you and HR included, especially probably HR because they are the intersection.
They're serving everybody.
They're serving everybody. Like I said, the C-suite as well as the dude parking the cars and the 30th floor of the garage. So 30th floor, corner suite.
And finagling hybrid and remote and making sure that everybody's in compliance. I mean, holy mama. It's a big deal right now.
It was wild. We took an insurance company and we took it, and with COVID, we blew it up into 3 legitimate corporations that could all run and do the business if the other 2 got sick.
Yeah.
So we had 3 separate teams. We could do the function of the whole corporation, the whole insurance, issue policies, pay commissions, everything remotely and from 3 different teams. It was wild. And HR was in the middle of all of it. They didn't escape any meeting. I mean, like as an executive, I was in a few couple planning meetings. And then basically it was, a week later, are we done? The stuff that had to go on behind the scenes is crazy.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so for any of you too to maintain your mental health, I don't know, but I'm going to give the little shout out to Headspace because they do an amazing job with their app, and I have it through my health insurance policy, and it's absolutely fascinating because I can do morning meditation. They have like a little quick start. They're like afternoon little workouts. They have sleep things. They have specialized pieces to just take some time and get grounded for you. It's amazing. So whatever you use, whether it's Insight Timer, Calm, Headspace, whatever, honestly, it's worth the investment.
Yeah, it's worth the time. Just that little bit of time, little me time.
Yep.
Lynn, awesome time. Super fun.
Thank
you. And again, did not disappoint. I learned a little bit something else. I'm going to give you a choice. You want to Making the Jar, a cow concert, or a mysterious third door that I don't remember what the video is?
Oh, I want the third door.
Okay.
I have 3 L's for initials. I've always got to go for a 3.
Oh, okay. I love it. Well, I can't remember what this one is. So I know what the other two. I know the other two. So
See,
again,
then it's a surprise for both of us.
it'll be a surprise for about a half a nanosecond, and then I'll be like, oh, I knew. Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening and supporting the mental health today. I mean, especially during the month of May, when we're really, I think the whole world is trying to put a little bit more of a spotlight on, on our mental health and be kind to each other, be good to each other out there.
And know that you're always enough, and it's okay to be imperfectly perfect.
It's okay to not be okay some days.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's okay. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And go find something, go touch some grass, ground your feet, take your shoes off, go stand in some grass, go dance in the rain, do something goofy to make you feel like you're 12, and it'll make all your problems smaller for a moment. Thanks again, everybody. I'll see you on the other side, Lynn.
Thanks, Ken.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard.
Over the next year, I'll be driving across America to sit down with real people and a jar of questions, to share real conversations with the rest of the world. Stream the Jar podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, or better yet, join myself and the Jar for a conversation in your city.